Simulate shutter drag for motion effects for an incredible portrait is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 15 minutes or less, starting now. Hello, everyone. All right, so I want to show you an image I've showed before where it shows shutter lag or shutter dragging in portraits. Now, obviously doing it late at night, that's easy. You know, when cars are flying by, you put it on a slow shutter speed, you snap the shot, typically on a tripod, and you get those beautiful lights that trail behind the car if you have rear curtain sync. Doing it with flash gets a little complicated. So let me show you this real quick. So here's the final image we're going to shoot, and this is what we're going to start with. Now, if I wanted to do this in camera, what I would have to do is have a slow shutter speed. And then the flash has to fire at the very, very end of the motion. If the flash fires first, then the motion is going to be in front, not behind. So we want this effect right here. You see how it looks like she's moving as we're taking the photo? So to capture that in camera, in a case like this, yeah, I would have to put the f-stop up to maybe something like f22 or something. If I'm not mistaken, this was f5. So this was shot at f5, 100th of a second. There's not going to be any motion blur whatsoever. So if I wanted to try to capture this in camera, yes, what I'd have to do is get the shutter speed down to maybe 15th to a 30th of a second, and then tell the subject, start here. When I say action, quickly move your head over to this spot. As I say action, you take the picture. There's the shutter. Boom. And then the flash fires, and then it freezes her into that shot itself. Is it complicated? Extremely. So if you don't have the patience, we could use motion effects inside Luminar Neo to get this effect. All right. So now we know how to do it in camera. Now let's emulate it inside Luminar Neo. Now from here, you know what? I am going to come in. Let's see. And I'll just do a real quick edit just to get the base of it going. We'll do here and boom. All right. Now notice she has brown eyes. This was the Crystal Princess, I think I called it. So what I'm going to do is this. I want to bring down the shadows, bring down the highlights, bump up the contrast a little bit, increase the black tone just a touch. All right, good. So we're off to a good start there. Again, before, after. So I'm going to come down to our portraits. Here's face, and I'm going to take the eyes. I'm going to make them blue. There we go. And then let's add a little lens, iris flare. Iris flare, there we go. And enhance the eyes just a little bit. Beautiful. Let's get rid of some of the dark circles. Just a little bit under the eyes. All right, so we got that going. And then for the skin, I have a couple hot spots here. So let's go with portrait. Here we go, skin. And I'm going to remove shine. And okay, did a good job. There. All right. So now I have a base. All right. So we started from this to here. Now the reason why I'm showing this is because we're going to make a duplicate of this layer. So I had to make sure that I got it the way I want it. In fact, one thing I did miss is a nice vignette. Let's put that in there. There we go. So now we isolated it. Got it. All right. So here we are with the image. Before, after, and if you notice under the edits, look, everything we applied is here. So if I duplicate this layer now, guess what? All of those edits we just did comes over with it. So that's why I wanted to take you through the edits. Now that I have the image the way I want it, let's come down into the creative section, and we're going to go with blur. Watch how simple this is. Motion blur. Let's go to an extreme. All right, there we are. And then, now that I did that, let's come over to layers, and I'm going to move it into position and actually take the opacity down just so I can see where I'm at. And right about there. You know what? I like it, but I do want to add another motion blur to it. So there we go. There we are. All right. So now that I have it set, now I'm going to come back up here to layers properties. This is where the opacity comes in. I want it right about here. And masking. Erase the effect down in here. In fact, I'm going to take the strength and move it up 100%. There we go. And then I'm going to play with the strength because I don't want it as strong on the bottom. There we go. But I do want it up in here. That's the key. And then, of course, back to 100%. Erase. I don't want it on her face at all. All right. So now that we have that set, there we are. All right. Look at this. Before, after, look there. Now we have the motion blur. Now, one more thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to this layer here. And where's our color tool? Let's go to color. And I'm going to take the saturation of the yellow way down. Because the hair got that yellow cast to it. And I'm just going to brush it in. Paint. There we go. The effect right in there. There we have it. All right. So we got the effect that we're looking for. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I selected both of them, merge the layer. I'm sorry, not duplicate. We're going to merge it. Now the reason why I'm going to merge it is from this point on, any effects I make is going to be applied to the entire image. And technically, I should have done the color effect there because there is a little yellow in the hair here. So had I have done this step over here, look, there we go. Look where I get rid of that yellow up in here. Then I could have done it in one shot. So that's the purpose of merging the layers. So now that we have it, I do want to come in and let's see if we could add some really cool flares to it. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm going to dial it back just a little bit. Look how we're building now. Now that I have it on one layer, I like how that looks. I may come back in again and let's say some of the starburst. Interesting. Not my first faction. You know what? Yeah, I'm not in love with it. Remove it. Let's see if we have another. Let's do some light leaks maybe. All right, here we go. So, all right, that's fine. I actually like where that's going in. That's 100%. That's dialing way back. Let's go right about here. And again, we can just come in and just erase the areas that we don't want it to be affected, like that area there. And the rest of it, that's fine. And then why don't we just finish the whole thing off. One more time, I'm going to select all the layers again. I just use the Shift key, merge the layers. And one last thing I want to do is just use another vignette to tie it all in. And then again, these light leaks here, that's entirely up to you. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that right here, but for now, just for the sake of expedience, I have that in there. So here's my vignette. I need something to tie it all in. And I think vignette's going to do it for me. Sure enough, it did. There it is. Perfect. All right. So let's take one more look at it. Here's the original. And then, again, with that motion blur, look how it just gives that motion to it. Now, with this particular image, it did break a lot of rules in portrait. That's called breaking the neck. And when a subject turns her neck, like in a case like this, that's called breaking the neck. And typically, you don't want to do that. But the way she's dressed, look at this. The way she's dressed, the way her makeup is, the way her hair is. This screams to break the rules. So we broke the rules and then broke the neck, got her looking off like this, and it looks like she pulled one of these routines, and that's how we dragged the shutter. So when you're working with motion blur, make sure it makes sense. If you have a bird sitting on a wire and you try to apply the motion blur to make it look like, it just flew in, well, if there's no motion in the beginning, or if they're just sitting there, it's going to look fake. You as the artist has to decide to know the rules and then know when to break them as an artist. All right? So I hope that helped you. A simple way, again, to add motion into, in this case, a portrait. All right? Now, if you're here, please stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment. But for everyone else, before I forget, you know what? My buddy Dale was supposed to remind me on this.
I was just going to do it.
Thank you, Dale. So we do have a new series coming out called Practical Edits. And these are pre-recorded sessions. And this right here, we already have one of them up. And then every Friday is when they'll post. So scan that QR code. And there's the link to the YouTube playlist. We have 12 episodes. So for the next 12 weeks, we'll have practical edits that you guys can check out. All right. And if you have any suggestion, when I originally did this series, I did think of my sister Maria, who is a photo enthusiast. And I asked her, what are some things you want to learn as in your practical edits? What do you want Luminar to do for you? What are some theories and concepts you'd like to learn? So around Christmas time, I picked her brain. I came up with a dozen videos that we can do it. For the rest of you, if you have simple edits, you're like, what can we do just to make my life easier when I'm editing? Please shoot me that, all right? And if you're here, again, for this Ask Me Anything segment, I'll be picking your brain. For everyone else, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.